This is why you shouldn't believe what you see on TV. A photographer was trying to think of new places to take photos of when he remembered something from his childhood. He used to watch a TV show that taught kids morals with every episode, but the way they taught them were often through scary images, cautionary tales, and warnings. The closing scene every time, though, was of an old, rusted, closed door. As the camera panned closer to the door, you could hear screams coming from inside. Then text would pop up saying that's where bad kids go. Of course, no one thought much of it, as fake sounds for TV shows were often used back then. The photographer decided to search up that place to see if he could find it. After a while, he finally found out where the TV show was filmed at, went there, and found it abandoned after being burned from the inside out. The photographer entered with his camera, as he found that same door, but after he went inside, he was shocked. He found traces of bone fragments, blood, and other human remains across the floor. But the most terrifying part was the bolted, caged microphone hanging from the roof in the middle of the room.
My video camera was recording and no one was out back. Took a look, no one was out back. Check this out. Watch in between the square. Mainly watch this spot right here. You can see a shadow up here. Boom.
And no one's there.
And then you see this little orb right here.
And then you
watch. Babe. Look at that. No one's out back.
It just sits there too.
It does. It just sits right there.
And you can see the whole shadow, like a person.
That's nuts. I don't know how long it sits
Goes
there
away.
for. The orb goes away. Comes back. Now watch. The person is going to disappear.
It's like they're just boom.
Boom. Gone.
Creepers, creepers, where'd you get those creepers? Creepers, creepers.
Yo. That bitch, Joe.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about one of the most haunted paintings in the world. In this painting, there is a 5-year-old boy standing with this creepy looking doll. According to the couple who owned this painting, the figures in the painting would sometimes move in the night. In fact, sometimes they would disappear from the canvas entirely. The boy in the painting was said to actually enter the room where the painting was hung. And anyone who looked at this painting would automatically feel sick and weak. In fact, small children would take a look at this painting and start crying and run away. And adults sometimes felt when they looked at this painting, hands were grabbing them. Others reportedly said that they'd feel a blast of hot air like an oven was opened, or chills. In fact, the eyes of this painting are said to follow you. I mean, this painting is pretty creepy if you consider the background of hands behind the child. And the doll's black eyes. Do you feel anything in particular when you look at this painting?
What is this? This looks crazy. This looks like a monster. Oh my god, look at it. Oh my god. So weird.
Did you know that gummy bears actually have a really dark history?
So gummy bears were invented in the early 1900s, and they were originally called dancing bears.
Now, in Europe following World War I, dancing bears were quite the attraction.
And people didn't see anything wrong with this, which I find crazy.
The bears would often be chained, made to wear silly clothing, and usually their teeth would have been completely removed so that they were considered safe for the public.
These bears were a very popular attraction at fairs and carnivals in most European cities. And this is literally what gummy bears were based off of. I had no idea they had such a dark history. And obviously later on they changed it from dancing bears to gummy bears, which is a lot better. And they're definitely not associated with that anymore, but it's definitely sad to know the history.
This was a selfie taken on the first night in this girl's vacation home. At first glance, everything looks normal. Once the lighting is increased, you can see something odd behind her. There is clearly a disembodied head of a young girl behind her on the floor. Once you zoom in for a closer look, you can clearly see this. This is not pareidolia, folks. That is clearly a disembodied head of a young girl. Somebody tell me what's going on in this photo. We're not alone.
Motherfuckers, come on, 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 motherfuckers, come on. I got 7 Mac 11s, about 8, 38s, 9, 9, 10.
Yo, what's up? These are horrifying facts, part 1. In June of 1972, a woman who resembled a mannequin walked into the hospital wearing only a bloody gown. Although the lady was covered in blood, she stayed expressionless, but her face was perfectly intact and she had the same dexterity and fluidity as any normal person would. But it wasn't until what happened later that caused people to start to vomit and flee the scene. When she was rushed through the emergency room, they thought the best thing they could do was restrain her with straps, and she didn't fight back. After saying nothing for hours, the lady finally turned her head and looked at the male doctor and whispered something quietly. The nurses then fled and filled the hospital with screams of terror when they realized her teeth weren't normal and that she had razor-sharp, animal-like teeth. When all the nurses cleared the room, the male doctor stayed, and what she whispered was, "I am God."
Yo, is something right in front of her? Is something right in front of her face when she turns around?
Yo, what's up? These are scary facts about our world that you probably didn't want to know. Part 19. There's actually a drug known as crocodile or crocodile that will cause your skin or flesh to decay while you're still living. That's why it's called crocodile or crocodile, because it gives it kind of a scaly pattern, making you look like an animal. Or a zombie. There's actually a place where people are being held in liquid nitrogen tanks in hopes of bringing them back in the future while they're still living. You see, their bodies are basically frozen, including MLB legend Ted Williams. There's actually a location in Ecuador called the Swing at the End of the World, and it's located off the side of a cliff in which you swing off of 2,600 miles above the ground. Oh yeah, also this takes place with no safety measures, so it's just the swing. This last one's actually a picture of a gas chamber from the Holocaust in which Jews were clawing the wall in pain and distress. Rest in peace.
Places you should visit if you enjoy all things spooky. The Museum of Death. The Museum of Death, located in New Orleans, is a monument to all things scary and disturbing. The gift shop alone is too disturbing for some people to handle. The employees even keep a tally behind the counter of who's passed out or thrown up that day. The museum is home to several serial killer artifacts, such as letters from Jeffrey Dahmer, several paintings by John Wayne Gacy, hair and evidence from the O.J. Simpson trial, and several Manson family artifacts. However, the exhibits are really the claim to fame. They have real shrunken heads, body parts in jars, exhibits on cannibalism, and suicide machines. And perhaps most disturbing of all, you can make your way into the back, into a small theater, where hours upon hours of real-life death caught on camera is played uncensored. The point of the museum, according to the founders, is to show people death and make them grateful to be alive. This place is not for the weak of heart. But hey, if you pass out, you get a free t-shirt that says, "I passed out at the Museum of Death and lived to talk about it."
19-year-old Andrew Haroff was a seemingly normal kid from Florida. After hastily leaving a restaurant where he was eating with his family, Andrew was found in the garage of John Stevens III and Michelle Mishkan. Andrew had stabbed the couple as well as a neighbor, and he was eating John's face. It took 2 police officers, a dog, and a taser to remove Andrew from the body. Andrew's organs began failing, and they took him to the hospital where they did a toxicology report. Everyone assumed he had taken bath salts, but they were surprised when the toxicology report came back negative for any substances. Searches on Andrew's phone proved to be very bizarre. Days before the attack, he was Googling things such as, "What am I?" "What do centaurs eat?" "How to know if you're going crazy?" etc. YouTube videos made by him show Andrew talking in all different voices. He was also experiencing hallucinations. He was charged with 2 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. His trial has yet to commence as we wait for a psychiatric review.
This is why music really can kill you. Merry Melody is an urban legend about a young man and woman who heard strange far-off music during a camping trip in the desert. They were curious, so they went closer and met this, a creature 9 feet tall holding some type of ancient instrument and staring down at them. They tried to run, but the creature began playing an evil song and their heads exploded. The coroners later said that their eardrums exploded so violently that it was like a shotgun blast going off. Some people that live nearby say they hear a strange tune far away every full moon, but they never go closer.